Hello, my name is Sean McDonald, and today I would like to talk about a topic that I feel is very pertinent to the United States today. You see, every day, according to the CDC WISCARS report for their 2015-2018 fatal and 2015 and 2017 non-fatal injuries lists, 87 children, teens, and young adults across the United States are injured and even killed by firearms-related accidents, primarily by unattended weapons that should have been locked up in the first place. It is for that reason that I believe that firearm safety classes should be part of the required learning for children in the United States. Now, I know many will say that teaching children this so young will be useless, as they won't be able to grasp the gravity of the situation, and others will say they don't need to teach their children this because they will never touch a gun. But I believe it is better to prevent the problem before it can become a tragedy. To prove my point, here are a list of reasons as to why gun safety should be a priority topic for the youth of the United States. Reason number one, children are very adventurous and like to go exploring all over the house, finding many things that they shouldn't have. According to Sarah Erdman, a writer for the NAEYC.com in her 2018 column for young children, a study conducted by Baxley and Miller in 2006 found that 70% of children knew exactly where the guns were stored in their house. And even more frightening, 36% of those admitted to handling the gun without their parents knowing. So what should be done about that? Well, I believe that kids should be taught where the guns are stored in the house, but at the same time they should be taught to not touch them, and if they find one, to alert their parents immediately. More times than not, when a child actually finds a gun, they just want to touch it, but in those cases where they actually get a hold of it and pull the trigger are when injuries can occur. And so they should be instructed on what to do so that this doesn't happen. For an example, I will use myself, as when I was growing up, my dad was a police officer, and as far back as I can remember, my dad always taught me what to and what not to do when there was a firearm, and if I had questions about something, he would sit down and explain those to me. Another part of that is, if every family in America, whether they are for guns, against guns, a police family, a military family, or just a normal family that has guns altogether, they should be educated on what to and what not to do with a firearm in the event that they find one or something similar to that occurs. Having more people with the knowledge of it will make it more mainstream and more part of the public consciousness as a whole. Now that we have discussed a reason why it should be done, let us discuss a quick counterpoint. Reason 2 is perhaps maybe the best way to keep kids safe is to just not have guns in the house in the first place. While it is a valid point and a surefire way to make sure that kids don't get hurt by guns when they're at home, what if the child is to find one when not at home? Firstly, say a child finds a backpack in the park and they open it and find a gun inside of it. The child may think that it is a toy gun and pull it out and begin playing with it, endangering both themselves and all those around them. If a child is taught not necessarily fear, but enlightened on what dangers a gun can pose and what they should do when they find one, then the chances of harm coming to anyone are greatly reduced. In the world we live in today, guns are more prominent in the U.S. than probably ever before. So even if you yourself don't own or know anyone who owns a firearm, I believe it is better for everyone to know what to do if the situation presents itself. You could think of it another way as herd immunity. The more people who have a contagion, the more people are able to develop an antibodies towards it, and it's sort of the same deal with gun safety. The more people who understand how to use guns properly, the less people will be hurt by them. With the counterpoint established, let us get into how the teaching should be done. Now, my third reason is maybe the concept is too difficult for people to teach children the same way as you teach an adult. Are there any ways that children can easily be presented the concept? Well, I'm glad you asked, because the first point I want to bring up is there is a method, and it's thanks to the NRA, or the National Rifle Association. Back in 1988, the NRA introduced the Eddie Eagle Gun Safe program, and according to Dr. Lisa Monroe, the original creator of the overall curriculum for the NRA, the program has been helping to teach the virtues of gun safety to children for over 30 years now. As another part of that, Dr. Monroe has created a very in-depth and easy-to-access curriculum that children access from the official NRA Explore page. Children can learn lessons, take tests, print out activity coloring sheets, and a few other things that are all centered around promoting gun safety, making it easy and fun, yet informative, to get easy ways to get children invested in how to act around a gun. To quote the slogan exactly, stop, don't touch, run away, and find an adult. What about when you should talk to a child about gun safety? When is the best time to start? Let's talk about a proper time to broach the subject. When exactly is the correct time to teach a child gun safety? Well, for my fourth reason, some would say as soon as possible, but a better answer comes from one Jeff Johnston, a writer for the NRA, in his November 4th, 2019 article, How to Tell When Your Child is Ready to Learn About Guns. The best time is when they first express interest as a gun, he says. At some point, it's the writer's belief that all kids are adequate mental capacity should learn gun safety. And he goes on to talk about how many guns were in America at the time and so on and so forth. And pretty much he said it should be a practical part of American culture as itself. Now, I understand that not everyone has a soldier or a police officer in their family that can teach them this, but having the nation's leading firearm advocacy group that can teach them all they need to know at a young age is a good resource to have. Now that we have discussed why we should, alternatives to teaching them, and when they should be taught, let's discuss who should be teaching the classes and where they will be taught. My fifth reason is, if there are to be lessons held for children gun safety classes, where should they be held and who should teach them? Now, my first part of that is going off the track record with firearm-related incidents in the United States. U.S. schools over the last 20 years, I propose a sort of extracurricular activity mean of instructing the students, maybe a summer camp of sorts. A way to teach kids that in and outs of firearms, what they should do if they see one, and so older kids don't know how to operate them. My second part of that is those who teach the children should also tell them in a nice yet informative way, not in a way that scares kids. Brandon Curtis, a lead editor for ConcealedNation.org, said in his June 2016 post called "Here Are 4 Reasons Why Gun Safety Should Always Be Taught to Kids," said that fear makes children anxious, worried, and unsure around a gun. When young children are scared, they tend to make mistakes. They may try to wrongly handle the gun or try to get it away, leading to mishaps. And this is a great reason on why the type of instructor should be selected from the best and most agreeable place. As for who I think should be teaching it, here are 3 possibilities that come to mind. The first and most likely easy to access would be police officers. Police officers are usually one of the first authority figures that children are acquainted with, besides their family, of course. So they will be more likely to listen to them, as we'll be able to see as a trustworthy figure. Back when I was in elementary school, police officers would come in for career day, telling us what they did, how they did it, and other things like say no to drugs and other such things. Most schools still have career day, so children are very accustomed to police officers, making them the best choice. Another good choice but albeit a little bit more intimidating, would be a soldier, possibly one in charge of training firearms, like a range master perhaps. They are qualified to teach up-and-coming soldiers how to handle a variety of different weapons, so teaching children the basics of gun safety would be easy for them. The only problem I could foresee is that children are not around soldiers as much as police officers, so they may not be able to accept it as well. The final choice is probably the most cost-effective, but may not garner the same results as the first two, and that would just be a normal firearms instructor. They would be proficient enough in firearms to teach the children the basics, but would be probably cheaper than the first two. The problem is no 2 gun instructors are the same, so the quality of what they are teaching the children may vary. So you may want to stick with just a police officer or a range master soldier instead, just to give you better quality. There will never be a perfect class for children, as there will never be a perfect instructor for them. But these are a few areas to get the ball rolling in the right direction. Now that we have the children's teaching handled, can parents be informed as easily as the children? My 6th and final reason is, what about a place where parents can go to get informed themselves? There is a place called Project Child Safe, a branch of the National Shooting Sports Foundation, that is providing help like this since 1999. On their site, it provides information, materials, and other manner of useful things for everyone from gun owners to law enforcement bodies to get help when they need to when it comes to firearms. They will also actually help to get free wired gun locks to people who need them, who can't really afford them. So that will make guns even more secure around the house. To round this discussion off, the general consensus of guns in the United States is and always will be a mixed bag, but it should be a universal agreement between both sides that children should be taught how to be safe when handling firearms. Whether a person likes guns or doesn't, they should still have some semblance of instruction given to the youth of America to prevent further injuries or deaths. It is better to stop a tragedy before it can ever begin than to wait until it eventually happens. Thank you for listening to my speech, and I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.